I've talked about this before in the past, React and why I ended up doing React. But this was kind of that point where I had to decide. It was like, what am I going to do contract work in? And I thought about it a lot, and I researched a lot, and it was like sort of the difference between hiring an employee and a contract position like this is it seemed like people looking for contract work are looking for solutions to problems. So they have a web application or a website, or maybe they don't even have that, but they want to sell something or whatever. They want to solve some problem. They're a business person. They want to solve a problem. So they want to bring you in to solve that problem, right? And that's a little bit different than, I think employee positions are kind of like that, but there's also this sort of, we're looking to bring somebody in kind of more long-term. That's sort of the framing, at least. And we want somebody that can basically do whatever we throw on their plate. That seems to be my experience is, you're an employee, you do what gets thrown on your plate. Whereas as a contract worker, it's more like, hey, can you solve my immediate problem? And a lot of times I have since learned that if you solve their immediate problem, they have many similar problems. And, they want to keep you on and keep solving more problems for them. But it's a different sort of framing on things. And so I realized that, and I was like, okay, so if I go out there and I'm like, yeah, I can do anything. And, my experience was kind of like that, being a jack of all trades, whether you wanted somebody to write a new programming language for you, or a new compiler, or a new operating system, or make a web application, or make a web browser library. Like, I had experience with so many things. A desktop application, I could basically do anything. And I had deep experience with so many languages, from Java to Lisp, JavaScript, Perl, C, Python. Like, I had experience, small talk. I mean, I could do basically anything. I knew that at this point. But I also realized that is not attractive to somebody looking for contract work. I always try to get in other people's mind, and I'm like, okay, if I'm the CEO of some small business and I don't know, I want to sell something. So I want some sort of e-commerce site. I want somebody that's like, yeah, I can build you an e-commerce site and I'm really good at it. And this is my experience doing that. That's what I would be interested in. If I found somebody that was like, oh yeah, I have experience with everything and I kind of do everything. I'm not going to look at them and be like, oh yeah, they're the solution to my problem. I'm going to look at that and be like, oh, I mean, maybe they are, but they just seem like everyone else, And so I was like, okay, I think I need to specialize. Specialization seems like a pretty big key to effectively getting contract work. And it was like, okay, what do I specialize in? And naturally, the job I had come from was in Common Lisp. And I love Lisp. If you listen to this show at all, I do love Lisp. And I write a lot of stuff in Lisp. And so I was like, okay, I could do Lisp, and I know there's contract work available for Lisp. But the kicker was I had 2 months. And I already knew from experience that while, yes, there is Lisp contract work, the market is not very big. And so that is both, I think, an advantage and a disadvantage. So the advantage is if somebody is looking for somebody to do Lisp contract work, I would be a great candidate. And if I was able to find them in those 2 months, there's a good chance they would hire me, I think. But I was like, is there enough work and would I be able to find it within that period of time? And I wasn't convinced I would. Maybe I would have, I don't know. It seemed a lot less definite. And so I was like, okay, what do I specialize in? And I was like, well, I'm good at web development. I've been doing web development in some fashion for 15 years, but I didn't know React. And I was doing a lot of research and I'm like, wow, a lot of people seem to be hiring for people to do React. So I decided, all right, I have no idea if this is going to work. I have 2 months to pull this off. I'm going to do contract work. I don't know React. I'm going to learn React and I'm going to tell people I'm really good at it. And not in the sense that I'm going to lie about it. Like, I am going to be really good at it. Like, I knew I could get really good at it. I looked over the docs. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's, functional reactive programming and it has these qualities and I already know all the concepts basically. I just need to learn some nuances and whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'm confident I could be really good at this and build really good React applications for people, but I don't know it. And so within those 2 months, I set out and made a website, thomashintzconsulting.com or something. And I put on it, yeah, I'm a React expert. And I just started applying to things. And at the same time, teaching myself React. And yeah, so anyways, in the interest of time and the sense that we're focusing more on mental health here, I'll skip to some of the more relevant parts of that now. So I actually did get a gig. It was just 1 week. Basically, I found this place. They were like, yeah, we like to try out contractors for 1 week. And if that goes well, we'll continue with you in a larger fashion. And I negotiated $4,500 for, I think it was 4 days of work. So yeah, I forgot to mention going into this, I decided part of what I needed to do this sustainably was not work like 40 hours a week. I know just isn't sustainable for me. I think, be as productive as a lot of people are in 40 hours. I can be just as productive in, 25, 30 hours. And so I was like, all right, I know right up front, I'm not going to do this 5 days a week. That's not my goal. I know it's not sustainable. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to make it work better for me. And so I went into this and I said, I will do 4 days of work. I don't track my time. I'm just going to give you 4 days of output. That might take me 2 hours if I'm super productive. It might take me 20 hours if I'm not, or if I get stuck on something. And I was very upfront with them. I was like, yeah, this is how I work, but I do good work. I produce good stuff. And so, yeah, we did that. And I got, and I even got them to give me 50% up front, which was obviously very important in this situation because it was right at the end of this 2 months and I had no money left. And I did it and they were very happy with me and I got paid and I'm almost honestly, I think I'm basically crying at this point because literally as I tell this story, because this was such a big deal. It was it proved that I could do something that worked for me and it completely changed my life. Completely changed it. So it was not all right, there is another way of working, a way of working where I can dictate the working environment to some extent. And people, they were so happy with my work in that week. They were like, oh, wow, you're the best. We'd love to have you do more, right? And it was wow, this is awesome. I did good work. I enjoyed it. It feels like I could do this sustainably, all of this, right? And yeah, sorry, I'm just pausing because this was so huge for me. And it was also just huge in the mental understanding of now I get it. It's not about, I think this might have been related more to my upbringing and in sort of my life and my perspective on things, but I hadn't really taken this approach before where it's no, I'm going to make things work for me. It was always, my entire life had been, how do I fit in to whatever somebody else is presenting? So anytime anything happens, I'm like I was like the first person to apologize, even if it wasn't my fault, just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and bending over backwards to make things work for other people. And this, I think, was horrible for me because I wasn't taking care of myself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't actually help other people. And so not only was I failing at being accommodating to other people, I was failing myself. And so this experience just taught me, like, okay, take care of myself, do what works for me, and then match that up with, if it's possible, some part of the economy that's looking for that. And this was absolutely groundbreaking. This completely changed my life.